Hello, this is Hillbilly Tanya again, and today I want to teach you how to glue your English paper piecing designs. I know I've touched base with this before, but I get multiple emails about it, and I see so many people on Facebook asking questions about it and questions about the different kinds of glues available. So I wanted to talk to you about those before we got started on our stargazing pattern. So first of all, let's talk about school glue. Lots of people want to use school glue. These glue sticks are inexpensive. They're acid free, so they don't hurt your fabric. They're not going to hurt your quilt later. But they're sticky. They're super, super sticky. Once you've glued down to your paper, it's going to be very sticky and very hard to remove the paper, the paper and the fabric off of the paper. You're going to stretch your fabric, warp it out of shape, and then that messes up your quilt design. So I do not recommend school glue. I don't like it. I save it for my 5-year-old. I don't use it in my sewing. Which leaves us, we'll talk about the tape in a minute. This leaves us to the glue pins. These are specifically made for sewing. They work on the fabric. They easily pop off the fabric. They work wonderful, and this is what I recommend. There are 3 different companies that make them. Each company, they're all alike. The refills fit in all 3 of them. They're interchangeable. So they're all 3 just alike. Doesn't make a difference. Except the color of the glue. You would think the glue would be the same no matter what color, but it's not. There is blue glue and pink glue available. The blue glue is a lot tackier and stickier than the pink glue. Well, not tackier, I'm sorry, it's greasier than the pink. And so when you put it on, it tends to slop up and get thick, and it's just harder to control than the pink. I've just learned that I really like the pink a lot better than the blue. So therefore, this company sells both the blue and the pink. So if you order from this company, you can do either one. The company that comes in the beige comes with blue, so I don't recommend that company. I can't tell you the name of it on the video, but it's the one with the beige. Uses the blue glue. Don't like it. Which brings us the white pin. The white pin uses the pink refills. And that's the one we're going to use today. I've already used that glue a little bit. Okay, another lady has used tape, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I'll show you that at the end of the video. Alright, if we're going to use glue, there are several different ways that I've seen people use their glue, and I've heard people talk about their glue, and it's always a discussion in the Facebook groups. What's the right way? What's the right way? What's the right way? First of all, Hillbilly says it's whatever way works best for you. It's whatever way you like. There's not a right way to do it. I'm slopping on some glue here in the middle, and really I should probably use less, but I'm gonna glue a few of these up to show you. I always just take a spot of glue, stick it in the middle, and glue it down. Just a tiny spot of glue to hold it where I'm going. When I'm fussy cutting, this is especially important, so because it helps with my fast fussy cutting, fussy gluing process. We're not talking about fussy gluing today, we're just talking about the basic process. We'll do fussy gluing on the next video that does our stargazing quilt. I'll show exactly what I fussy cut for that quilt. But we're going to talk about this. Now, once you've glued these down, your seam allowance does not have to be perfect when you're English paper piecing. I just eyeball somewhere between 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 and 1/4, whichever. I just eyeball it and just cut it like that. Normally I have my pieces starched, and I don't even have my pieces starched. I used these same pieces on the last video, which we just filmed a few minutes ago, and I'm just cutting them out. Another question that I see a lot when you are cutting them out is, can you leave them square, such as this? Yes, you can. You may certainly leave them square. I might cut off a little bit extra so there's not all that extra. But you may, most certainly, it's quicker if you're not fussy cutting to cut a whole, to just stick a whole row of them down there and just leave them square. Now let's talk about the different ways of gluing. Some people say that you should only glue on the paper. and never on the fabric. If you're going to glue on the paper, which is actually the method that I do, you need to make sure when you glue that you put a line, however thick you may want it. Some people use very tiny, some use a little more thick, but you just cannot do it right up in the edge. You can't, I'm going to do it the wrong way. You cannot glop it on the edge like that, because then you're going to have trouble sewing through it, because right where you've put your needle through, you now glopped it with glue. So you need to move your glue stick down just a little, leave a little line, and glue. And I actually do it part on the fabric, part on the glue. I start on my fabric, move on to glue, and back over to fabric again at the end. And I do a little bit wider one than some people, and I just like it to be super well glued, because I am on the go a lot and I stuff it down into my bag a lot, and it really frustrates me after I've spent a lot of time fussy gluing it into place to get somewhere and have it unglued. And I want my fussy glues to be stuck when I'm ready to sew. So I actually use more glue than a lot of people. So that is that method. Some people say you can only glue on the fabric like this. You cannot put the glue on the paper, but only do it on the fabric. I don't like it that way. Now this one has a little more trouble than most because I haven't starched it, but you can see how that fabric bends for me. See how that moves around? It won't do it as bad as if it were starched, but it would still move some, and that just annoys me. But if you like to do it that way, then you like to do it that way. That's fine. That's just another method, is do it right to the paper. It does, or right to the fabric. It does tack a little better when you do it right to the fabric like that. It will tack down a little better than when you do it to the paper. So, but it also uses more glue. So, as I said, it's however you want to do it. There's no wrong way. There's yet another person that teaches to only do it in the corners of the fabric, like that. Put a little glue in the corner, stick it down, little glue in the corner, stick it down, little glue in the corner, stick it down, and so on. She does it this way, obviously to preserve glue. This is not cheap glue. So that's one way to not be so wasteful about your glue. The only problem is it tends to come up a little bit, and if you're not sitting at home on your recliner sewing these, I don't like having that extra piece come up, and you know me, I like to have it secure. But that is a way, if you want to do that and you want to preserve glue, that's a way you can do it. There's one other way that people do it, and by the way, if you were going to leave it square, you would just do it the same way. You can just do that. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this off and show you one other way a lady does this process. And she uses clear tape. She says that clear tape works great for her. So I played around with it the other day. And you would just take a teeny bit piece of clear tape, hold it down, move on, teeny piece of clear tape, hold it down, move on, and all the way around. The clear tape you could just bend out of the way when you get ready to baste, so it just comes off too. So that is another method that you can use. Alright, now what if you've got it all basted and sewn together, which we will talk about sewing on another day, but what if they're all sewn together and you want to take your papers back out and they're stuck in there with glue? What in the world do you do? Well, if you've used sewing glue, then all you have to do, if it's very tacky, is just spritz it with a tiny bit of water. And that's on spray instead of spritz, but you get the idea. You just kind of spritz it with some water, let it sit a second, and then those papers will just pop right out of there. That glue will just come on. It actually dissolves. The sewing glue dissolves with water, and they just pop right out of there. So it's not a problem. Like that. I accidentally ripped that one because I sprayed it too much because the spraying thing was on a full stream instead of a spray. But anyway, people ask me then, okay, can you reuse your papers after you've glued them? Absolutely. Here are some papers that have been glued. They're a little bit distorted, but all you have to do is iron them with a dry iron, and once you've pressed them down, they're good as new. I use my papers 2 or 3 times once I've used glue. One final thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I just thought of it while I was looking at my little paper here, my little hexagon, is fabric. Each video I'd like to show you just some funky fabric that I used. I would love to do a whole video of fabrics and what fun fabrics to use while you're paper piecing and what's good and what's bad, and it would just take forever for me to do a video like that because there's so much fabric out there. And when I'm working, I'm always finding fun fabric because I own a fabric shop. When I'm cutting orders, I think, oh, well, this would be neat, this would be neat, this would be neat. So I made this for you just for the video to show you some fun things you can do with fabric and some inexpensive ways to come up with fabric. On the last video, I talked to you about how you needed to buy full yard widths in order to get the repeat, that it's hard to get the repeat. But I wanted to tell you an inexpensive way to get fabric. You've been watching down in the bottom of this video this funny background here. And this is actually a piece of fabric that is a doll, it's a soft doll pattern that you just cut it out and it's all right there, and she's got an apron and a dress. And I was not able to sell this in my shop because it was cut off here at the side. So it is a bolt end, and I was looking at it one day and I thought, wow, look at all the neat fabric for hexagons that's in this little bolt end. You've got this neat fabric, you've got this one, you've got this one, you've got these over here, you've got some of this other stuff up here. So you've got some really neat little hexagon things in a piece of toss away fabric that cannot be used because of the pattern being messed up. So if I flip it over, you can see where I cut out the pieces, and I still have this huge piece of fabric left, but I cut out this little bit and I made this little hexagon. So one thing you can do is look at the bolt ends of your discount store and find discount fabric, and that's a great way to get some awesome fabric for if you're not going to fussy cut. And I actually fussy cut this one though. I did the diamonds and fussy cut. So just some fun fabric there. A fun fabric idea is to not discount the discount bin, because you can actually find some pretty good deals there. And I found the panels are some of the best deals you could find because the panels have all the different colors right there, and a lot of times the panels are discounted. So anyway, that is all that I had to show you today. I just wanted to show you the different types of gluing. On our next video, we are going to get into stargazing and fussy gluing and showing you how exactly what fabrics I'm going to choose and how I'm going to glue them and cut them for my next stargazing pattern. Thanks a lot, and see you then.